Welcome back to the Speak Social podcast. I am Danielle, your host and new BFF for all things social media for small businesses. I am so excited you're here today. I'm actually recording this early because I probably wouldn't have recorded this until like the night before or the morning of, but I had a no-show. So here we are. We are queens of making do with the time we've already time blocked for work, and we're gonna do the dang thing. So today I am going to take the topic that I was going to talk about on my call today and morph it into a podcast. Not to say I wouldn't have talked about this eventually, but what better time than the present? That's why they call it a gift. I hope you don't tune out after that. Because I've already made one stupid pun only a minute into the episode, but it's fine. If you've never heard my voice before, I am a social media coach for realtors and small business owners, and I'm basically spilling all the tea for you and giving you all the things that you should and should not do on social media, because your job is running your own business, not doing social media. So we're gonna break down the 4 questions you should be asking yourself every single time before you press post. And these aren't like you're sitting there and you're like, okay, how do I like answer all these questions? No, sis, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you mentally running through this list and making sure that it's in alignment with you and your social media and your goals and all the things. So let's freaking break this down. So number 1, is this client, oh my God, already making mistakes. Is this post serving me or my client? And here's the thing. So I am not saying that you can't post for you and like for funsies and like jokes and all the things. I totally do that, especially in your stories where things get a little more personal, a little more behind the scenes. But let's get a little bit real about that. Your primary purpose for posting on social media should be for your business. And if you feel like your posts are more self-serving than they are outward serving, then I want you to kind of check your messaging and check your posts and check what is your intention with every post you do. Because while, like I said, every post doesn't need to be like, oh my gosh, like nuggets upon nuggets and like super educational and super like serious shit all the time, because that's not the vibe I'm talking about. I'm asking if it's bringing value to your potential clients. And value is kind of that fun buzzword in social media where it's like, is your post offering value? And you're like, I don't know what the hell that means for me, because our innate feeling is that value should always be educational, and that is just not the case. Because here's the thing, we have to be thinking about the person that's behind the phone, the person that's scrolling. What do they need to hear from us that day? And it is not your job to be the be all end all for every single person, because you're gonna be different for every single person. You're going to reach people differently depending on your post, depending on your style, depending on your mood that day. And here's the thing, you can offer value that is not analytics, not numbers, not statistics, not, do this, not that, steps to do this, whatever. It does not need to be educational. It can be entertaining and empowering, or entertaining or empowering, and still offer value, because your job is to meet someone where they're at on social media. And again, like I said, it's not going to be every time, but that is the purpose of value. Value does not mean that you're like making them into like a scholar in your subject. You're the expert. You're not looking to make them the expert because you want them to use you or hire you. So why are you going to give them everything away? And here's the thing, I am not like a gatekeeper by any means. This podcast is me as an open book. I'm telling you the things I would do, have done, will continue to do. And obviously your social media should be that too. I don't think that our competition is other businesses in our same space. Our competition is ourselves yesterday. So, but when I kind of digressed a little bit, but when I say value, sometimes people are just having a bad day and they just want to laugh. They just want to be entertained. And those accounts are popular. And if you can bring some entertainment and some maybe empowering message into your content, you're going to be offering more well-rounded value and reaching more people because they're going to get a different message from you. So before you press post, I just want you to think about, is this post really going to serve the person I'm looking to serve? Because I do believe that engagement aside, algorithm aside, your posts will reach people in the space that they need to be reached. And no matter what, I think that the right people will always see your post in the time that they need it. That's just me and my thinking and the way that I believe that my impact is, that I believe that God put me here to say certain things and to reach certain people and meet them where they're at. And that's why I do what I do. So I always have to think about that in my post and think about the person that's out there reading it. What do they need to hear from me today? And then I let myself speak on that behalf. Hence the reason I'm not so great at batching, but that's another topic for another day. Next question is going to be, it kind of ties into the last one, but is this serving my business? So here's the come to Jesus for you guys as far as social media serving your business. Social media is a tool. It is not your be all end all, and you should not be spending more time on social media than you are in your actual business. That's a mic drop. That's a hot take. If you feel like you're spending more time scrolling or more time creating content for social media than in your own business, whether it be service-based or product-based, you're doing it wrong. Your job is not to show up on social media. Your job is to do your business well. So when you're posting on social media, you really do need to think, how is this helping my business? Because yes, you are looking to add value and serve your client, but you also have to think that this is part of your business. So you don't want your time to go to waste when you're using social media. So if you're just doing like haphazard, like cat dog pictures of my wine glass posts, and they're really just more like fluffy, that's fine. Every once in a while, showing your personal life is totally fine. I'm a mom. I show that all the time. I show different parts of my life, but that can't be your whole business. Your whole business can't be fluffy posts, because you need to remind people what you do and why you do it. And even if your everyday is not like, hey, I have this to sell, I have this to sell, I'm doing this, whatever, buy this, because we don't want it to be salesy all the time. You do need to be a salesperson. No matter what product or service you sell, you are a salesperson because you are selling yourself or you're selling your product. So do not be afraid to show up on social media to sell, because you need people to know what you do. Because it's, what is the point if you spend all this time making beautiful content or amazing videos that are edited to perfection, but they're not showing your business, or they're not showing what you do and what problems you solve and what goals you can help someone achieve? You're missing the whole boat. You're missing the whole point of social media for your business. The next question is this delivering my message? And again, these are all pretty much going to, be consistently in line, because I want you to think about these things in such a deep way, because your social media is not time for you to waste. We don't want to waste time on social media posting stuff that's not doing us anything or not doing our potential clients anything, because our time's valuable. We talk about that all the time. You don't want to do that. You don't want to waste your time. I don't want you to waste your time. So when you're thinking about your message, you should have a very crystal clear position and message of your business. And if you do not, girlfriend, please message me and we're gonna hash it out. We're gonna really nail down your message in your business. Because if you don't know the message of your business, you don't know the vision, you don't know your purpose, you don't know your why, you cannot effectively communicate that on social media, because you're not crystal clear on it. And if you're not clear, they're not going to be clear either. And there is nothing more awkward or uncomfortable or, whatever, than reading a post where you're like, I don't know if like this resonates with me because I don't really get it. I don't know really what she does. And I always abide by, I went to a conference once and she talked about how in your Instagram bio, or in your bio in general, it shouldn't be super fluffy or like what I would consider non-Googleable. I don't think that's a word, but non-SEO keyword friendly. You want whatever you do to be something that people are actually Googling. And maybe this isn't consistent across the board, but you definitely want it to be something that people would actually be looking for, because a lot of people will put in their bios these weird like phrasing. It's like mystical magic marketer or something weird. And like, no offense if that's like, if Sally, you're out there and you're like, that's literally my Instagram bio, I would love to talk to you as well. But I think that there's a way to communicate what you're doing in a way that it's not confusing for people. Because again, clarity is so key. And that's what makes people, you can feel that connection and feel relatable and all the things, but they're not going to buy from you or hire you if they don't know what you do. So when you're saying, are you delivering your message? You should know what you do. What is your transformation? What is your story? How are you sharing that and selling that and pushing that all the time? Because your message should be one, again, that's clear, but it's also creating a connection, because someone's going to need to know why they're going to use you. So how are you bringing them from point A to point B? You are in the middle, you are their guide. Like I said, you should be solving those issues really, really well, and you should be communicating those really well. And so when you think about your message, you have to think about what are the different things that are someone's fears, problems, and goals, and how am I sharing those effectively on social media? Because if you think about your posts and they don't all have that same crystal clear messaging, consistency isn't just the number of times you're posting. Consistency also comes in that messaging. Are you pushing the same thoughts, feelings, vibes, philosophies, purpose, vision in every single one of your posts? And no, you don't have to have just one, but it has to be a common thread throughout your posts. So if you're saying, hey, I push this specific, nonprofit because I came from this journey and this is why I support this nonprofit, that should be a thread throughout your posts. It shouldn't be that you're jumping around, that you're saying different things, that there's nothing in alignment. Again, I've used the word alignment a lot because your social media should feel exactly in alignment with what your business is. And we've kind of come in a day and age where people like to really offer their opinions online, which like, okay, do you, like, that's fine to a point, but you don't want your brand to not feel connected to your actual mission and your vision, because that's really awkward. And it's going to show through on your social media if something is not jiving. And I always use the, I guess we can just pop into the fourth question, because is this an accurate representation of my brand? And this is not just colors, it's not just clothing, it's not just the text you're using, the copy you're using, it's all of it, because you are showing up online in a professional capacity. And again, like I said, we've kind of come in a day and age where people really like to share their opinions online. Totally fine, do you? But just know that we also come from a day and age where people love to cancel people, and they love to make sure that people aren't successful for whatever belief values they hold. And you don't want to, not be disingenuous, but I always say err on the side of caution as a professional of what you say and do online, because that not only represents you, but it also represents the company you have, the employees that work for your company, just all of the things. So make sure that your posts feel like they're in alignment with you. And you will almost always catch me in pink. Almost always. Maybe not wearing pink, but something pink. I will have something pink. Today my Stanley is actually lavender, but it's still like very girly feminine on brand. And you know what? Like people are like, oh, I saw this pink thing and I thought of you or whatever. And that pink is a common thread throughout my posts. I know it's a little silly sounding, but it's something notable for someone. You want to, again, that consistency across your platforms, across your different posts should feel relatable and something that people can continue to, associate with you. And so when we're thinking about accurate representation of your brand, it shouldn't be like if you saw me in like a gray room with like black clothing on, and you would be like, that doesn't track, there's something awkward about it. And they can't always put their finger on it, and it doesn't mean they're gonna be like, oh my gosh, that's so like weird, I like don't understand why. They're just not gonna hire you. They're just not going to contact you. They're just not gonna be able to create that relationship with you. And it's kind of one of those things that I really want you to start to think about in all aspects of the way that you show up on social media, that even when you're taking candid photos, does this feel like an accurate representation of my brand? Like the background, the color schemes, all of the things should feel like they're in alignment with your brand. And like I said, I try and inject pink in almost every post that I do because it's recognizable for me. And I like that people think Danielle and they think pink. I like it. Although Barbie did take my thunder this past summer, but I digress. I loved the movie, so we're like fine with it. Like Barbie and I are cool. But it should feel like an accurate representation. My favorite thing to get as a compliment is when people meet me in person after hearing me, on the podcast or, seeing a training or seeing me on socials, and they meet me in person. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're literally the same in person that you are online. Yeah, authenticity sells. I am not going to be a different person online than I am in person. That's very weird, because then when someone meets you, they're going to be like, oh, something's off with her. And I don't want that. You don't want that. You want to be genuine. You want to stand out. You want to create a space and own that space. You do amazing things. Whatever it is that you do, whatever your business is, whatever you sell, whatever service you have, own that shit. Own it, because that should feel like your brand through and through. I know I'm really freaking good at social media. I know that. I own it. I'm not going to be like walking into a room and be like, oh, I think I might know what I'm talking about. No. I know I own it. And if you want people to trust you enough to pay you for whatever it is that you have or do, you have to own it. And that's why your social media is so important, because it needs to communicate who you are, your values, all the things, because that's what builds that trust with people. That's what builds that connection. That's what builds that business for you. Because businesses are a dime a dozen in 2023. Everything is saturated. And don't take that as a bad thing. Saturation is not a bad thing. Saturation means that people want to pay for it. So don't take saturation as a bad thing. But I want you to stand out in the crowd. I want you to find your space, and I want you to plant your feet really solid in that space. And I want your social media to communicate that, because guess what? Social media can skip about 7 steps for you, probably more. But when you're creating a relationship on social media and someone feels like they know you and they understand you and they know what you sell and they see that you do it well, they're gonna buy it from you. That's the point blank. That's the purpose of why you're showing up on this tool every day, or as often as you are, because it should serve your business, but it should also serve your clientele, so they see why they're gonna pay you for whatever it is that you do. So don't think of, each social media post as a standalone situation, but think of it as a very cohesive part of your brand, an extension of who you are in person. Your brand online should not differ from yourself in person. Maybe it's a little dialed down, maybe it's a little bit less, because of course, who's showing 100% of their life online? It's physically impossible. Unless you literally have a camera following you around 24/7, it's just not possible. But it should feel genuine and relatable and create that connection with someone to open a line of communication or whatever it is to get them to pay you for whatever it is that you do, freaking amazing. So I want you to take these 4 questions. Is this content for me or for my client? Is this serving my business? Is this effectively delivering my message? And is this an accurate representation of my brand? And I want you to take those 4 questions and really commit them to memory every time you're making a post, and really think about that. Because everything from your colors to your words to your photos to everything that you do or say needs to be thought about and be intentional, because that's the problem with social media, is people aren't intentional with it, and that's why they flounder. But if you are intentional and you really look for a purpose to why you're on social media, it will serve you, and it will serve you well. I am going to be opening up a super fun Facebook group called the Speak Social Society really, really soon. I wasn't sure if I was going to announce it today or not, but I'm going to be opening it up really soon. So if you are interested in finding out more about that, and it's going to be free, there's going to be training, mastermind, all the fun jazz, I would love to have you send me a DM on Instagram at Speak Social Podcast and let me know that you listened today and you want to get on the wait list for that, because it's not going to be an open group, it'll be closed, and so I'll have to send you an invite. But I would love to have you in there. It'll probably be open by October. I'm like knocking on wood right now because I'm just spouting out information. If you're just like listening, you're like, did you plan this? I did not, as most things are not planned. But I would love to have you in there. I am really looking to ramp this up and give you as much value as I physically can, because I really want you to grow and succeed and really utilize my knowledge to help yourself grow on social media.